Hey, welcome back to the channel. I think my lens might be dirty. Hey, welcome back. For those of you who've been curious how the new job is going, it's actually going very, very well. So I'm super happy. It's a bit of a commute, but I'm listening to audiobooks, and so time goes fast, and you know, getting a couple hours a day listening to books can't hurt. So yeah, so there's plenty going on that front, and there's plenty going on here. And what I'm working on is I'm gonna get, as you remember from last time, I took the clamps off. This is all good now, and this section now gets routed out, and then these pieces actually get added in. So that'll complete this area. It wasn't that big a deal, really. Just only on the time front. I mean, you know, it takes time, but that's okay. So we're going to try and get everything ready that we can before we epoxy, and I want to do this routing before I epoxy, just because it's going to throw sawdust everywhere. And one of the things I need to do is I need to get the tank, and I need to put it in here where it goes, and I'll talk about the tank in just a minute. All right, let me grab a tank. All right, so let me get the slide the tank in here. And now we have an excellent fit, and we can fit in here with no trouble whatsoever. So what we need to know is I got to position the tank here where, I mean, so you can see I have more than enough clearance here, so I've got to scoot back a little bit because I want to make sure I'm plenty clear of that bolt right there. So what I have to do is take some RS4, I believe, and I have to epoxy it to the front edge of the plywood that you see right in there, right in here, and that's what's going to stop the tank from going forward. And then back here, what we'll do is can actually come back maybe just a touch more, and that'll give me a little more clearance in here on this front edge. So that's good. I think that's probably a good location right there. And then when we get to the back here, we'll just come in here and we'll measure off the distance from the spar. We'll lay a piece right on top of the spar, and it'll come forward, and it'll catch the tank on the back side. And we want to make sure it goes all the way across so that we're not just on the flexible part of the tank, but we catch the actual outside edge where the welds are. And we want to do the same on the front. We'll go all the way from side to side. We get a better look at that condition right here. This is the area that we're looking at. And so I'll take the tank out and measure off. I'm curious though, before I take it out, just what this distance back here actually is. So just to get an idea, wherever the ruler went. There it is. This distance here looks like it's about 1.75 inches roughly. So we might leave a little bit of room for a piece of foam cushion. But 1.75 inches, and then we'll have our position on the front, and I'll figure out what we can use to actually make that 1.75 inches piece there. Yeah, so this will work out really good. And when we put the two pieces on top of the tank that are going to actually hold it in place, we're going to have one right about here, and we're going to have one right about here, and they go underneath here and across and underneath here. And what that does for us is when we put our screws through here, they're actually holding that brace in place at the same time as holding the Lexan down. So those will get made, we'll get those in position, and we'll actually put a little bit of pressure on this tank to make sure that it's held really securely in position. So okay, I'm gonna get a piece of RS cut for that front section. I'm gonna take my pin here in a second. I'll mark that location where I have that set. I think I'll just make this a kind of a known distance. So I'm gonna come about 7/16 off the front. But on the bottom, let's see what that location is down here. Just checking down here to see what we're dealing with. We are just about 7/16. So we're 7/16 from the front of our plywood down here. So we'll make a piece and we'll set it back 7/16, and we'll get that epoxied in place. Once that one's in, we'll be able to put a little bit of foam on it, push the tank up against it, and then we can figure out what size we need to actually fit in the back and lay in there on top of that bottom spar and hold it in from the rear. This is going to work out great. All right, so here's the situation with the tank. The original opening that you saw here is actually designed around a 5-gallon poly tank, and that covers a few things. If you have a plane like mine and you want a tank in each wing, then you would have 10 gallons of fuel for a amateur built experimental or LSA. If you wanted extra room in the cockpit like I have, and you don't want to put a fuselage tank in, which takes up quite a bit of room up underneath there in your leg area, then you could put a single 5-gallon tank in one of the wings, and you could, that way you meet your 5-gallon maximum qualification for ultralight. So they can custom make, Dave said they can custom make a 5-gallon tank that fits that original open according to the drawing, original opening. And this tank is of course the 6.8 gallon, and I have obviously 2 of those, so I have the potential of just unbelievable amount of fuel for this particular engine, which is sipping 2.5 gallons an hour. So, but you know, carrying 4 gallons in each tank, 5 gallons in each tank, I will have more than enough fuel. So yeah, or if I, you know, if I did want to go a distance, and I was going to do a cross-country flight, and I was always trained that you never leave gas on the ground or runway behind when you're going cross-country, then I would fill her up and go. So, and then have plenty of fuel. So have lots of options, basically, by putting in the 6.8 gallon tanks. And at the time I didn't know the 5 gallons were an option. I only saw the 6.8 gallon on the website. So at this point it doesn't matter, they're 6.8 gallon, and that's what I'm putting in. So anyway, all right, so in case you didn't see my other video where I used the router to route out this area for where the Lexan goes, I didn't show it in this particular video because you had already seen it, but I realized there's so many of you are new since that video. I'm gonna put a link to it here so you can see it, but this is how we came out after I got that all routed out. So it looks really good on this side. Now I've just got to fill in this 1/4 inch piece of wood right here, because I'm going to actually have some like a screw that's going to have to go in there. So I'll get a 1/4 inch piece and get it fit in there, and I might be able to, it's going to just have to come in from just from the top. So we'll epoxy that in. We can epoxy that in place. I've got that cut up there and my line drawn for where it needs to go, and then we can epoxy these pieces in back here. And once we get that done, then this, except for a little sanding, this will be ready. Yeah, so okay, this is the router I use. It's a little Porter cable, and then I got this this fence. I believe I got that at Rockler. I get quite a few of my things I like at Rockler, and I added the I kind of deconstructed it and then just added you can see where I cut off the ends of it, and then I added a piece of lumber that acts as my fence. It works really great. You just put it up against the edge of the wing, the root of the wing, and you just undo the screw there and set the depth as you need it to flush cut. I'm using a flush cut router, but it's basically you just plunge it down until you're just barely skimming the top of the rib, and it works perfect. So whew. All right, so yeah, let me get some epoxy mixed up and get that other little 1/4 inch piece cut, and then we can move on with that. All right, so now I got to get in here and drill these holes, and because of where the size of the mount and the way everything worked out, I'm actually moving back about 3/4 of an inch from the center line of this hole, because really the main purpose of my hole here is I just need to get in there with a wrench and hold that nut when I get that tight. So back here I can center right up on the hole. It's not a big deal. But forward, if I go up here, I'm afraid that I'm going to be getting into some of the material that's supporting all this plywood. So I'm just going to back up a little bit. I'll have plenty of room to get in there with a wrench and hold things. So no big deal there. And yeah, so I had to kind of come up with a contraption to actually make this happen, because the drill doesn't fit in here, so you have to use a right angle. And since I don't have a hair right angle, I'm actually using my drill right angle, so we'll see how this goes. Let's hope for the best. Make sure we're on our mark there. And when I punch through that, I'm going to be plenty clear of the outside. That may not be the case here. Yeah, it's still the case here. Okay. There we go. And then I'll be able to get right in here with some sandpaper, just clean that out real good. And like I mentioned before, I've got a plastic insert that will actually just snap right into the hole here, so and then I'll come along with some urethane and I will seal up this plywood edges here. Now I just made my hole 1 5/8 inches, so it was a readily available plastic insert as well, so that's going to work out really good. I can get a wrench in here without any trouble. As you know, the inside of this is already all completely sealed up from when we put it together. So now on to the next 3. Sweet. Alright, so I made my little clip that goes, it's the bottom spring clip for the radio, and the way that works, of course, you know, it screws in to the top there, and once it's screwed in there, then this part here actually goes on like so. So this part will get riveted right where my thumb is there to the bracket. And then I'll probably put a piece of RC fuel tubing or something on it so that it's not actually cutting into the radio here. I'll slip something over the end to kind of soften that blow a little bit. I think a piece of silicone tubing will probably be the best. So yeah, that's going to work out great. That'll hold it in there without any trouble. And once I put that kind of 1/8 inch foam on the back side of the radio or on the mount itself, that will help kind of cushion everything. And actually it's probably about a 1/16 of an inch thick, it's not an 1/8. But anyway, that's how that's gonna go. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We got this the stop for the tank in the front here, and I've just got a couple clamps kind of weighting that down while that epoxy sets up. We took care of this hole that we had here. That's all nicely taken care of, so good deal there. Let's get a little epoxy off of here. And then we came over here and we actually a couple pieces of plywood that we made here, got those in place, and so now we have our new outline for the Lexan. I hadn't cut any of that yet, so that's no biggie. And yeah, I wanted to ask my British friends. I am having a really hard time finding a gas cap with the mount, gas cap with the gauge on top. If you want one that screws on, there are tons of them, and I was wondering if you might check your local sources and see if anybody has anything like that, and if there's any chance I might be able to buy them from the UK. I did find some in, and I reached out to a company over in Italy, but I didn't hear back from them. They make one that's the size I need. I need something that is about 6.5 to 6 3/4 inches deep, and that's from the top of the neck to the lowest point. And it needs to, that's for where the float goes up and down and spins the needle and the gauge. And mine is a 1/4 turn on the top. It is not a screw-on type. So I'm trying to find one of those. If there's any chance you may have a source that might have one, please let me know. Actually, I need two. I don't want to do the wire and float, but I will if I have to. But it's not my preference, so I really want to find these gauges, float gauges, cap, all in one. So yeah, so hope you're doing well, and I'll catch you guys later.